Okay, everybody, it is Friday. This is the My Business is Your Business podcast, and this we're going to talk about today is having an opportunity seeking mindset. So I get on some of these the masterminds and podcasts. People just talking to me. You know, they remind me of me when I was started making money, and I'm like, okay, I need to make more money, and I need to find out where to put my money. Who can I talk to, right? And so I that back then we had the yellow pages, and I looked up a financial advisor. So I found one local, nice lady. All right, and I'm thinking advisor. This is somebody who's going to help me pay off my debt faster. They're going to help me, get some kind of savings started. They're gonna point me to opportunities and all that. Well, we went through what I had, what I was making, what I was spending, and what assets I had, how much what I had in the bank, and I had a mutual fund I had been contributing to for goodness gracious, um, like 12 years, $50 a month, just socking it away. And so she converted that to a Roth IRA. Okay. And that was it. There was nothing else. She didn't reach out to me every so often or nothing. Um, I'd call her every once in a while and ask her about some. Oh, I know. I remember. Um, I did when I had my 401k and I left the company. I rolled that into a um, a IRA with Walmart, Home Depot, and Disney stock, individual stocks. And my thinking was this is like the peak of the .com. So it was like 97, beginning of 98. Yeah, the beginning of 98. All right. And I had good timing. And my thinking was this is what goes up's got to come down. So I didn't want to invest my money in QQQ or NASDAQ stocks. So I called my dad, and I didn't even know my dad could read, right? But I knew he was good with money. And I'm telling him what I did. He goes, well, Home Depot's good. People are always going to shop there. They got good prices. He said, well, Walmart's good. People are always fixing up their house, whether they bought a new one or they're getting ready to sell it. They're always doing something, right? And he says, but your real, the real smart one was Disney, because the Asians are heavily vested in entertainment stocks, and the Japanese, their economies hit the skids, and so they're selling their stocks. So that's on sale. I'm like, Dad, you got cable? Way out you know, on the farm. I mean, there's no way he had cable. Or do you have a satellite dish? What are you watching Bloomberg? What are you doing? Because I read the financial news every day. I got to find out, is Russia buying or selling? Do I need to grow corn or do I need to grow wheat? What I just told you, I read that in Mechanics Illustrated. Okay, so here's when I first got into the mortgage business. I got into the mortgage business as a debt management consultant. I learned about some strategies to help you get out of debt faster, answered admin paper. They implemented these strategies, the debt roll-up strategies. They would use home equity. if there was enough equity in the home to do a uh, debt reconstruction, consolidate strategic debt with the one that would create the largest margin of savings. They would apply that to the debt roll up strategy, and they would use consumer credit counseling and debt settlement strategies. They tell you they can get you completely out of debt, including your mortgage, in as little as 5 to 10 years without increasing your monthly payments. Long story short, I wrote more business for that company my first month than anybody else had done for them in a year and a half, and they made me the manager. And then every time I showed somebody how to get out of debt, they started looking at buying a house. So I got my real estate license. So I started helping those people find houses and get, get a mortgage, right? And then, if I had a crystal ball, I couldn't pick a better time to do that when I did, right? And then I'd find people that had already started. And so we would move equity around, we would refinance, get lower rates, get them cash out so they could buy another property. And because they got a lower rate, their cash flow wouldn't decrease. It's like free money almost, right? And this one guy, he already had a 4 unit, a 2 unit in the house he lived in. And in 14 months, I helped him buy 14 properties. And he was the one that had the crystal ball. He was able to sell all those properties at the peak. Not all of them. He kept the 4 unit, the 2 unit, and the primary residence, but their mortgages were paid off. He'd sold the other ones and had like $2 million, equity out of those when he saved them in 14 months. All right. I don't know how he knew. Everybody else, I had like 30 other investors that didn't do so well, right? But that guy had it figured out. He had the crystal ball, right? But that guy lost his shirt during the .com, so he learned some lessons. He learned to pay attention. That's a key. Paying attention to your finances, tracking your money, seeing what you're paying for that's not really benefiting you. And sometimes that's hard. You're doing some things that you know that make your videos look good, make your social media posts look good, but they ain't making the phone ring. Okay, and I have to like weigh that all the time. The So I get on these calls and I hear people that are doing they want to figure out how to make more money doing exactly what they're doing, and you're not gonna make more money doing exactly what you're doing. You got to do something different. You got to talk to a different group, or you got to offer something different. Give you an example. I went to a meeting with the Houston uh, builders and investors. One guy was converting apartments to condos, and he wasn't doing that well because nobody was buying these condos. And another guy had him and his partners had bought five of them invested into an apartment or a hotel right in the middle of COVID. Nobody was staying in the hotel. They exhausted their savings trying to keep from getting in foreclosure, ended up getting foreclosed on anyways. Right. I had just came from the day before a event. I thought it was it's called a community fair, and it was at this assisted living facility for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. I went to lunch right before that, saw a real estate agent and his wife with this old guy. I thought he was taking his dad out to lunch. The old guy was hard of hearing, spoke really loud so I could hear everything they were saying. And come to find out, that was a real estate agent that had listed this guy's property. That night, I'm watching on YouTube Ryan Lipsey. He's a title rep for Tycor Title. He was my title rep in San Diego. doing a podcast, talking to these agents. That's where the market's turned. All these baby boomers born between 1963 and um, 1960, 1946 and 1964, baby boomers. They're timing out. They're retiring from their jobs or their business, and they're downsizing out of their houses. Like this old guy, his wife had died, his kids were grown. He didn't want to, keep the house up anymore. He wanted somebody else to do that. Somebody else take care of him. And so if these guys that were converting the apartments to condos would have been converting them to a senior assisted living community, they would have never had a problem selling them, right? Or getting, keeping the occupancy up. Same thing with the hotel. They would have never had any problem keeping them beds full. There's a line for them. Okay. That's that silver tsunami that's moving through time. All right. Other examples, there's a welding school here in Houston. There's one of three in the country that teaches underwater welding. They get these guys to get their Part 107 license so they can fly the drones, but also the underwater autonomous vehicles, right? So they can check for damage, right? If, you fly in a pipeline, find the damage, because you're cutting torch your welder, get busy. You get a water tower contract, put it up, fly around. You get paid to fly the drone, and you get paid to do the repairs, right? It's smart. Electricians having a side gig, setting up homes for in-home entertainment centers, right? If you mount 4 flat screens a day, 5 days a week in business or homes, right? You're looking at like $7,500 a month, okay, cash flow, right? If you add one 10 by 20 video wall that same month, you doubled your income. Okay. So I turned those guys on to LED City. They got this really great digital video wall technology that they have, and it's the outdoors digital signs are perfect for the Texas heat. You ever see a digital sign in the summertime and like the panels are out? It's because of the heat. Okay, so there's a certain kind of LED panel that can dissipate that heat. In LED City, they're out of Dallas. They had one of the first OEMs in China manufacturing LED lights, so they get the innovation first, right? And well, I used to be their estimator. I got a great relationship with them, so I refer people that do these kind of things to them. Okay, so they can increase their cash flow. HVAC technicians. My son is an HVAC technician. He's the first one to ever come at me asking for these infinite banking strategies, right? And in the summertime, so he's in San Diego, California. He makes a lot of money, and he's in the wintertime, things kind of slow down. But if he gets certified as an inspector to go into houses, right, and check out their HVAC units, right, he can maintain that income through the slow months. Okay, so that's and it's using the same knowledge base he already has. Okay, he already does what they would be asking him to do, and he already understands. He knows what to look for. Okay, and it's a no-brainer, right? And there's other things. Hotels. There's technology now using the modern HVAC systems that can detect a dead body in a hotel room, or somebody using fentanyl or methamphetamine. Okay, um, and so having going into hotels is, hey, would you want this capability, right? Would you want to be able to, rather than having your maid come in and find a dead person in the room, the system will flag security. They go check, call EMS, they take care of it. Okay, and that can, you know, give you a boost. Hairstylists, barbers, getting certified as a wig makers. The health insurance companies will send them clients, and the health insurance companies pay for these prosthetic wigs for women who, have alopecia or go through chemo and radiation and need these prosthetic hair pieces, and they're in like every 3 weeks, right, on time, right, and just that, you know, same knowledge base, right, um, giving a value add to your services can significantly boost your cash flow. Right. So these are things you got to have the mindset to figure out where the opportunity is. If you don't, you're never going to move off your square. You're going to stay right where you're at. And for me, I help people find money, but it's hard. Once somebody started to spend some money, it's hard to get them to stop spending that money. Right? Canceling subscriptions, stop eating out so much. These are things that are a real drain on your budget that most people don't even think about. But it could if you created a little bit of savings. One of the things that I'll do for somebody getting started, got somebody right now, and they've been after me for a long time, giving them, helping them, giving them advice on how money works. This guy, I didn't know it. He's, dyslexic, and he couldn't read. And then he made himself read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And now that guy reads everything he can get his hands on about money, finance, opportunity. He's doing events, talking to people about, you know, how to make more money, be more prosperous, change their life, right? And he's lost a ton of weight. That Tony Robbins. You know what Tony Robbins' claim to fame was that made him, that he talked about? He was a big fat guy. Now he's just a big guy, right? Big skinny guy, right? But losing a bunch of weight, and that was his first success, right? Um, that he was able to utilize some of the things that he, the early mindset strategies to lose that weight. And that's his claim to fame. He didn't do, you know, but that's what his basic foundation was. So it's this guy lost a bunch of weight, creating the right habits of eating right, exercise, going to the gym every day. He looks good. They okay, taking that and monetizing it. That's what he's trying to do. So he upgraded his living. Just he bought a acre and a half, and on a private party note, paying 14% interest for like 10 years. I think it was 15 years, right? And finally, he called me up, and the property values had gone way up. He didn't even have it properly permitted, right? So I had to guide him into to get it permitted, go get to the right lender to get the right kind of loan. So he got enough money to fix it up. Now he's got a nice house. He went from like a 750 square feet to like 1,800 square feet, and he's got a nice house in a nice neighborhood. All right, and now he's like wanting to get into real estate investing. All right, so he's got a little bit of equity in the house with property values going up. What happened in the Rio Grande Valley is SpaceX, right? The Star County. So that's the east end of the Rio Grande Valley, north of Brownsville, right? That's where Elon Musk has got his Star City going on, right? Star County and Star City. He's technology's coming to the Rio Grande Valley. Used to be the primary employer in that region was HEB. The demographics, the number of people, the cultural demographic was almost identical to South San Diego County. All right, about the same number of people, same demographic. The difference was other than the U.S. military in South San Diego, the number one employer was Qualcomm. Okay, the difference in income between the main employer being Qualcomm and being HEB is significant. Well, now it's um, SpaceX, okay, and people that have businesses that support SpaceX down in the Rio Grande Valley. So property values are going up. The area is coming up, okay. So he wants to take advantage of that. Well, I was trying to find him a multi-unit, a 4-unit, um, and down in the valley. Well, I found one here in Houston for like $224,000 for unit. Now it needs work. You can see that the windows are doors are boarded up. It needs some work, but using Marbleism AI, figured out he can get 25,000 out of his current property. Probably keep his payments close to the same because he can get a lower rate. Okay, right now, and then cost another 25,000 to fix up the property up, and it would double in income. It would double in value. All right. So that's something. And then bam, right there. Now he could either keep that property and you know, do a family banking strategy, pay that mortgage off faster, save that money for him, or put a down payment on a 4-unit in Edinburgh for $430,000. All right. And do the same thing. Do the family banking or infinite banking strategy with them. So the point I'm making, it's you're going to be able to do a lot better as a professional boxer when you've got an experienced trainer in your corner than trying to figure it out yourself. Okay. And that's, I got a lot of experience. I made some millionaires in real estate. I made some millionaires in financial services. Right. So I'm trying to make some more millionaires. But you gotta find people, you know, they're more than just going, "Listen, show me how to make more money doing what I'm doing. Right. Well, you're you gotta something's gotta change. You gotta tap a different market. That can make a big difference. And I'm always in the process of trying to find my niche. I found my niche um couple ways. One time I helped somebody get into a property right when the rules had changed. They had stopped redlining, and he was buying a house in a 2-unit property in Logan, San Diego County, the barrio, and now he could get a loan there. Now he had another problem that he bought this property from two brothers. They're Filipinos. One was a realtor. One was a contractor. They bought this 2-unit property. They rehabbed it and were flipping it in less than 6 months. And it took me a while to find. I went through 8 appraisers to find one appraiser that would get me the value, the new value, and use the comps across the street in another zip code. All right, and in Golden Hill. But I found the right appraiser that would give me the new value with the comps in the adjacent zip code. Found the lender that would accept that appraisal. It was an appraisal review for 8 days, but they funded that loan. And once I did that, my phone started ringing off the hook, right? But then people were wanting to do things that were when they came out with the no income, no asset verification loans. People were trying to get me to do things that under those guidelines that were not legal, and I wouldn't do it. And then I started getting a bunch of construction loans coming at me, that filled that gap. And I'm like, I was proof of every construction lender there was, but where are these people coming from? Well, my hobby was shooting, and at the range, Everybody else at the range was involved with the construction business. They were civil engineers, land surveyors, general contractors, people that work for general contractors, right? And that's where they came from, right? And that's why I started realizing, oh, see, then they would see me. The one guy was the number one land surveyor in the country, and so he's making good money. He bought a brand new Browning high power 45, had a Colt frame, fit my hand perfect. And he's like, he's all over the paper. There must be something wrong with these sights. I'm like, well, can I try it? And I literally shot the black out of the bullseye. And then I watched him, and what he was doing was he was trying to look over the front sight to watch the bullet hit the paper. I'm like, dude, you're not that fast. Get that second sight when line up your front sight, squeeze with your left hand, not your right hand, pull that trigger straight back. And when that round goes off, get right back on that same sight picture. He only dropped one round out of the black after that. And people saw that. And next thing you know, they're coming at me, getting me to help them shoot better. And then what I figured out was what they were doing is they were overlaying my competence in shooting to my business. And, you know, that's Roy Jones Sr. used to always say, if you're one way in one thing, you'll be that one in anything else. If you're a winner, you're going to be a winner. If you're a quitter and a loser, you're going to be a quitter and a loser. The, you know, and, that's pretty much the way it is, right? But here's what I'm going to tell you. Somebody who's striving to do better on their job is somebody who's going to strive to do better with their finances. Somebody who's really competitive with their business, they're going to want to be they're going to want to be equally as you have the growth in their assets, their investments. And and I'm talking to myself right here because I'm the only one on this podcast, but it's I'm speaking wisdom in my own ears, and that's going to be good. I got agents that'll listen to this, but that's a good rule of thumb. Somebody who's after it. Oh man, I was running today in the park, and the park was full of these kids, and it was a riot. They were doing like weird little games. It was a field day, they call it, I guess, right? And they were like throwing these fuzzy balls, and they had these discs that had Velcro on them, and they're like playing catch with these discs and the balls. But then there's this one little girl. She's like, I don't want it. Your dad's, got him on her lap, and she just. What it was is she just didn't want to feel. She felt uncomfortable. She didn't want to look stupid. Okay, and so many people don't try to do something different. They don't try to start a business. They don't try to go to college. They don't try to. My mom used to sing country western music. She liked to get up on stage and sing, but she would never let anybody record her. She wrote her own songs. She never let anybody try to record them, or she never tried to record her own because she didn't want that rejection. All right. I saw fighters in the gym. They never missed a day of training, but they never go fight. I'm like, what are you doing? They didn't want to risk getting beat. I never understood that. Never ever understood that at all. I mean, what are you doing? Anyway, so this whole point of this podcast today is to get you, for either get you to start looking at opportunities, and I'll help you. Go to my website, mybusinessyyourbusiness.info, and connect with me. There's going to be an assessment that'll help me figure out how to help you, and let's get started. All right. But, keep your eyes open, your eyes and ears open for those opportunities. This guy that I've known that's wanted to be in real estate. But I know a bunch of people that maybe they own one house, right? Or they don't even own a house, but they want to be called a real estate investor. They're looking, right? And there's like I know some girl, she made enough money, she had great credit, but she didn't have any assets. And where she was spending most of her money was eaten out in a couple months. If she changed her habits in a couple months, she would have had enough in assets to buy a property. But I even turned around to NACA, but NACA doesn't care what your credit looks like, but you got to have the income and the assets, right? But they can get you 100% financing on even a 4 unit, and let the three, you live in one unit, let the other 3 units, the rent from the other 3 units qualify you. And now presto change, you got it. This guy, he's got 2 sons that would, you know, be ideal for that opportunity. One of them just got married, right? So he's good for like a year or two before they start growing. But then he'd be I know a guy that lived in an apartment complex. He lived in one of the units, and so he's living rent free. His property is making him money. Okay, it's a straight cash flowing for him. And so these are strategies that can help get you there faster. The infinite banking or family banking strategies, and and if you're not there yet, what you do is you get started with just a term policy. The premiums are really low, but you make it big enough, right? So now once you start, you start making enough money, right? You can start a banking strategy, right? You've already qualified. You don't have to go back through underwriting. You don't have to go back, get your labs done or nothing like that. They use what you qualified for when you got the term policy to get the cash value policy, that you could implement this strategy. So you don't have to wait. You don't want to wait. All right. All right. Well, I hope you got something out of this. I'm gonna end this podcast for today, but let's try to get some more on here. All right. I sent this to you because I want you to join me next Friday. Have a great day.